Tears of the Kingdom is massive, complex, and filled with systems that the game either explains poorly or doesn't explain at all. You can beat Ganondorf without understanding half of what the game offers. You can explore for hundreds of hours and still miss crucial mechanics that would make your life easier. Nintendo designed TOTK to reward experimentation and discovery, which is great for player agency, but terrible for actually knowing what's possible. Today we're revealing 15 essential tips and secrets that will completely change how you play Tears of the Kingdom. These aren't basic tutorials the game already teaches you. These are advanced techniques, hidden mechanics, and obscure secrets that most players never discover. Let's dive in. Tip 1. Duplicate items using specific timing. This is the big one that Nintendo tried to patch but couldn't completely eliminate. You can duplicate almost any item in your inventory using precise timing with the menu system. Here's how it works. Hold the item you want to duplicate, open your menu at the exact moment Link starts an animation, and if timed correctly, the item duplicates when the menu closes. The most reliable method involves holding a material, starting to cook or drop it, then opening the menu during the startup animation. The timing window is tight, maybe 2-3 frames, but once you get the rhythm, it becomes consistent. This works on diamonds, rare materials, zonai charges, and even some weapons if you're precise enough. Now, is this cheating? That's for you to decide. Nintendo clearly didn't intend it, but they left it in the game even after multiple patches, suggesting it's difficult to fix without breaking other systems. For players who don't want to grind materials for armor upgrades or who need zonai charges for building projects, duplication removes tedious farming. For purists who want the intended experience, ignore this tip entirely. No judgment either way. Tip 2. Auto build pulls from your history and favorited builds. Most players know you can favorite builds in auto build to quickly reconstruct them. Fewer realize that auto build also stores everything you've ever made in your history, even accidental constructions. If you once built the perfect vehicle to cross a specific terrain type and forgot to favorite it, it's still in your history. Scroll through your auto build history and you'll find hundreds of creations you don't remember making. More importantly, auto build can pull materials from nearby deposits if you don't have them in inventory. Building a vehicle that needs wheels? If there are zonai wheels on the ground nearby, auto build will use those instead of requiring you to have them. This makes auto build incredibly powerful for rebuilding complex machines even when you don't have all components in inventory. Always check your surroundings before assuming you can't rebuild something. Tip 3. Ascend has massive hidden range. Ascend doesn't just let you rise through platforms directly above you, it has surprising horizontal range and can detect surfaces you can't see. If you're standing near a platform but not directly under it, Ascend will often work anyway, teleporting you diagonally upward. This isn't a glitch, it's how the ability was programmed to feel generous and forgiving. The practical application, you don't need to position yourself perfectly under ledges or platforms. Get roughly underneath and Ascend will figure out where you're trying to go. This is especially useful in shrines and sky islands where precise positioning would otherwise be required. Ascend is more forgiving than the game lets on, so don't hesitate to try it even when you're not perfectly aligned. Tip 4. Fuse damage scales with material rarity, not size. This seems obvious but contradicts what many players assume. A fused weapon's damage isn't determined by how big or impressive the fused material looks. It's determined by the material's inherent damage value. A tiny silver Lionel horn adds more damage than a massive boulder. A soldier construct horn outperforms a chunk of zonite ore. The game never clearly explains damage scaling, leaving players to experiment or look up data. Generally, monster parts from stronger enemies add more damage, ore materials add modest damage, and random world objects add minimal damage. If you want powerful weapons, hunt strong enemies for their parts rather than fusing large objects that look impressive but perform poorly. The same principle applies to shield fusing. Shield durability and defensive properties are determined by the fused material's stats, not its appearance. A small but valuable material can create better shields than large but common materials. Tip 6. You can farm star fragments predictably. Star fragments seem random, but they follow patterns that allow farming. Star fragments fall at specific times during Blood Moon nights and in specific locations. Camp at high elevation areas like the Gerudo Highlands or Hebra Mountains during Blood Moon nights, watch the sky from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., and you'll see star fragments falling.
The key is elevation and clear sightlines. Star fragments are visible from far away if you're high enough, giving you time to glide toward the landing location. They disappear at dawn, so if you spot one falling, mark it immediately and glide toward it before morning arrives. With this method, you can farm multiple star fragments per blood moon night instead of hoping to randomly encounter them. Star fragments are crucial for upgrading certain armor sets, so learning to farm them efficiently saves hours of waiting for random drops. Tip 6. Bomb flowers are cheaper than bomb arrows. Bomb arrows are expensive to buy and tedious to farm. Bomb flowers are everywhere and do the same job. Instead of wasting rupees on bomb arrows, collect bomb flowers and fuse them to regular arrows. The result is functionally identical to bomb arrows but costs nothing except the flower you picked up. This applies to all arrow fusion. Elemental key size, elemental choo-choo jelly, elemental Izalfos horns. Fuse any of these to arrows for elemental effects without buying specialized arrows. The game wants you to experiment with fusion for arrows, but many players waste money buying pre-made special arrows when crafting is free and more flexible. Keep a stock of various fusion materials specifically for arrows. This lets you adapt to any situation without maintaining expensive arrow inventories. Tip 7. Ancient blades insta-kill almost every normal enemy. Ancient blades, found in the depths or purchased from certain vendors, have a hidden property. They insta-kill almost every normal enemy in the game. Fuse an ancient blade to a weapon and enemies die in one hit regardless of health. This includes tough enemies like Lynels, Gleeokes, and Construct bosses. The catch, the blade breaks after killing one enemy, consuming the entire weapon. This makes ancient blades incredibly powerful but expensive to use. Save them for enemies you really don't want to fight normally, like when you're under-equipped or facing multiple tough enemies at once. Ancient blades don't work on certain story bosses and some scripted encounters, but for regular exploration, they're emergency delete enemy buttons that can save you from difficult situations. Tip 8. Pose guide you to important locations. Pose in the depths aren't just currency for the bargainer statues. Their placement forms trails that lead to important locations. High concentrations of pose indicate nearby light routes, boss arenas, mines with valuable zonite, or hidden structures.
Instead of wandering the depths aimlessly, follow PO trails. They function as breadcrumbs, showing you where developers placed important content. This makes depths exploration much less intimidating when you realize POs are navigation tools disguised as collectibles. Some PO trails are obvious, leading in clear lines. Others are subtle, requiring you to notice patterns in PO density. Pay attention to where POs cluster, and you'll find yourself naturally guided toward meaningful discoveries. Tip 9. Sages can be dismissed and resummoned. Sage abilities are powerful, but the sages following you constantly gets annoying. They block doorways, trigger things accidentally, and generally get in the way. Here's the secret. You can dismiss sages by deactivating them in the key items menu, then resummon them when needed. Most players don't realize sages can be turned off, suffering through constant companion interference. Go to your key items, select the sage vow, and you can toggle whether that sage is active. This is essential for navigation, puzzle solving, and moments when you need precise positioning without NPCs bumping you around. You can also use sage abilities from a distance by targeting enemies or objects. You don't need to position sages perfectly, just target what you want them to affect and activate the ability. This makes sage abilities much more practical than fumbling around trying to align them with enemies. Tip 10. Bright Bloom Seeds reveal cave completion. Bright Bloom Seeds do more than light caves. When you enter a cave you've fully completed, Bright Bloom Seeds glow differently, and there are visual indicators that the cave is cleared. If you're checking caves for completion, throw a Bright Bloom Seed immediately upon entering. The way it illuminates tells you if you found everything. Additionally, bubble frogs always spawn in specific locations within caves. If you've collected a cave's bubble gem, that frog won't respawn, confirming you've completed that cave's main objective. Use this to track which caves you've fully explored versus which still have secrets. Cave completion is required for 100%, but tracking it manually is tedious. Learning these visual indicators saves time and prevents repeated exploration of already cleared caves. Tip 11. Zonai charges appear at specific times. Zonai device dispensers don't give random results. They follow patterns based on several factors, including time of day, your current Zonai charge count, and which devices you've used recently. While the exact algorithm is complex, you can influence results by depositing charges at specific times. Generally, depositing large amounts of charges at once yields better results than small deposits. Depositing during certain in-game hours seems to increase rare device drops. The community is still mapping exact patterns, but paying attention to when you use dispensers makes a measurable difference in what you receive. For players who rely heavily on vehicles and complex builds, learning to optimize dispenser results is crucial. Rare devices like hoverstones, rockets, and stabilizers become much more available when you game the system. Tip 12. You can paraglide infinitely with stamina food. This is exploitable but intended. Eat stamina-restoring food while paragliding, and you can stay airborne indefinitely. As long as you have food that restores stamina, you never need to land. This transforms paragliding from limited mobility tool to primary transportation method. Cook meals with stamina-restoring ingredients before long gliding sessions. Endura carrots, stamella shrooms, and stamoka bass create meals that fully restore stamina. With a decent food supply, you can glide from one end of Hyrule to the other without touching ground. This isn't cheating, it's using game mechanics as intended. The game lets you eat while paragliding specifically to enable extended flight. Players who understand this spend less time walking and more time efficiently gliding everywhere. Tip 13. Certain armors have hidden effects. The climbing set doesn't just increase climbing speed, it also reduces stamina consumed while climbing. The stealth set doesn't just reduce detection, it also muffles footsteps and reduces sound from other actions. The fireproof set doesn't just prevent fire damage, it also makes you immune to heat-based physics effects. These hidden properties aren't mentioned in armor descriptions, but dramatically affect how useful certain sets are. Testing armor in different situations reveals effects the game never explicitly states. This is intentional design, encouraging experimentation rather than relying on text descriptions. Pay attention to how different armors feel rather than just reading stats. You'll discover properties that change which sets you consider essential. Tip 15. Recall can undo mistakes. Everyone knows recall reverses object movement. Fewer players realize it can undo mistakes. Drop something valuable off a cliff, recall brings it back. Accidentally destroy a puzzle component, recall restores it. Watch an enemy knock away a key item, recall retrieves it. Recall is essentially a mistake forgiveness tool. Any movable object can be recalled, undoing accidents that would otherwise force restarts or create frustration. This makes experimentation safer because recall lets you undo failures. In combat, recall can return thrown weapons, send enemy projectiles back at them, and manipulate battlefield objects. In puzzles, recall provides second chances on timing challenges. It's more versatile than its description suggests. Tip 16. The game saves build schematics from shrines. When you complete a shrine puzzle, the game automatically saves that solution to your auto-build history. Even if you didn't manually favorite it, shrine solutions are stored and can be reconstructed later. This is huge because many shrine puzzles teach useful machine designs that work in the overworld. Check your auto-build history for shrine solutions after completing them. You'll find vehicles, bridges, elevators, and mechanisms that solve overworld challenges identical to shrine puzzles. The game is teaching you building techniques through shrines, then letting you apply learned techniques freely. Your auto-build history is essentially a catalog of every building technique the game has taught you, ready to be reused whenever appropriate. Bonus tip: talk to every NPC multiple times. NPCs have dynamic dialogue that changes based on game progression, time of day, weather, what you're wearing, and what you're holding. Talk to NPCs multiple times in different contexts, and you'll discover new dialogue, hints, quests, and secrets that weren't available before. Some NPCs only reveal important information after you've completed certain tasks. Others have different dialogue at different times of day. Some react to specific armor sets or held items. The game's NPC system is deeper than most players realize, with dialogue trees that account for dozens of variables. If you're stuck on a quest or looking for secrets, revisit NPCs you've already talked to. Their dialogue might have updated with new hints or information relevant to your current situation. Conclusion: always experiment.
The single most important tip for Tears of the Kingdom is simple: experiment constantly. The game is designed to reward trying unusual combinations, testing whether systems interact in unexpected ways, and treating everything as a potential tool. Most of these tips exist because players experimented beyond obvious uses for abilities and items. Tears of the Kingdom hides its depth deliberately, trusting players to discover rather than explaining everything. The game is more generous, more flexible, and more exploitable than it initially appears. Every system has hidden interactions, every ability has alternative uses, and every limitation has workarounds if you're creative enough. These 15 tips are just the beginning. The Tears of the Kingdom community continues discovering new techniques, optimizations, and secrets that Nintendo never explicitly explained. Join that discovery process. Try weird fusions, test unusual auto-build combinations, explore every corner of the depths, and most importantly, never assume you know everything the game can do. Tears of the Kingdom rewards curiosity more than any Zelda game before it, so stay curious and keep experimenting.